We need to do this. It's Friday. Shazam! Hello and welcome back to Real Talk. I am your host, Andy Vick, and it is wonderful to be back on air today. We got a lot of good stuff on this episode, lots of good movie news. We're going to be talking Shazam, we're going to be talking us. We're going to have a good time here, but if you don't mind, I'd like to talk directly to Sony Pictures real quick. Hi Sony, how are you doing today? Have you seen my last episode of Real Talk? You must have, because you took it off of YouTube. Thank you, you are now officially labeled a punk. And now let's get into the news tonight, starting off with what's poppin'. What is the top 5 box office over the weekend? Shazam, of course, came out last weekend, and it was a massive hit, raking in $53.5 million as the number 1 hit, followed by Pet Sematary, which is $24.5 million, going extremely well for a good release. Dumbo not doing so well, though, $18.2 million, which is not very good for one of these tentpole films, really low in the numbers. Us, Jordan Peele's horror film, is also doing pretty well for what it is, $13.8 million. And at the bottom is the other Captain Marvel, at $12.4 million. Marvel still doing fine, even though it's been a few weeks. And now we got some other good news today, starting off with the Snyder Cut of Justice League apparently exists. A few weeks back, Zack Snyder at a fan event said that he does indeed have his own cut of the film Justice League. If you remember, a couple years ago, Justice League came out. There was a lot of complications. Joss Whedon had to come in the middle of production, and the film ended up being complete garbage. Zack Snyder has said that he does have a cut, and it's up to Warner Brothers whether or not to distribute it at all. And I really hope it does not get distributed at all, because Justice League is already garbage enough. I don't need to find out how it goes down. Following up after that, Endgame tickets are finally on sale. Hallelujah. I got mine indeed. I'm going to be seeing it opening night Friday. And this poster right here is not a spoiler for the movie, but it is a potential spoiler for next episode. I'll see you there. Basically, tickets are going through the roof. Fandango said today that for every ticket that was bought for Infinity War, 5 tickets were bought for Endgame, which is really massive because Infinity War was a big event last year. And there are several polls out there that are saying that Endgame could have $800 million in its opening weekend, which is insane. It would crush every other opening out there and potentially might be able to dethrone Titanic or James Cameron's Avatar. Who knows? We'll find out in a couple weeks, hopefully. Following that up, Mark Hamill has been cast as the voice of Chucky in the upcoming Child's Play reboot. Now, this is actually really interesting because a couple years ago, there was a continuation of the Child's Play franchise with the actor, I got his name right here, Brad Dourif. He is still voicing Chucky in the previous film. He's actually voiced him in all of them. So it's kind of weird that they're doing a reboot and recasting him with Mark Hamill. I, for one, personally love Mark Hamill, thanks to the Fire Lord, the Joker, and Luke Skywalker. So I have no doubt in my mind Mark Hamill is going to do a really, really good job with this role, no matter what happens. But we're just going to have to wait and see on that. He has not been in any trailers at all, so let's just see what happens. All right, next we're going to do our trailer recap. A few trailers came out since last episode, and we're going to be talking about all of them, starting with Dora and the Lost City of Gold. I wish I made this up. I am not dumb enough to make this movie up. This is actually coming out this summer, a Dora the Explorer movie. And if you watch the trailer, it is about as bad as it looks. It looks straight Nickelodeon TV movie, Disney Channel original movie. It's just going to be completely garbage. And apparently Boots in that movie is going to be played by Danny Trejo, who's famous for Machete. I wish I made this up. I am not making this up at all. Next up in trailers, Joaquin Phoenix puts on his happy face as we have an official trailer for the new Joker movie coming out this year. And I'm really, really pumped for this one. Joaquin Phoenix seems to be taking a different, interesting take on the titular character. No Batman is confirmed for the film. However, someone is playing a young Bruce Wayne. I'm not sure who, but Bruce Wayne does exist in this universe, but it just looks dark and sadistic and honestly a morbidly curious fun time. I am really excited to see Joker when it comes out this October. And finally, just today, we got a new trailer for the live-action Lion King remake. Live-action remake, since there's not actually any humans in the film. It's all just computer-generated animals. And have I ever mentioned that I don't like the Disney live-action remakes? I really think they're all just garbage or like meh at best. Like, notably, Beauty and the Beast. That's my least favorite out of all of them. And Lion King seems like it's just going to be a shot-for-shot remake with less personality. I mean, even if you watch the trailer, how they do Scar looks so much worse than the original. But we're still going to have to wait and see. It's going to make all the money regardless because it's the Lion King. Of course it is. But I really don't have high expectations for this one. And that does it for About the News today. We'll be right back in just a second. I've got a little something special for you. We got an last weekend was the TV10 all-nighter, and which was a 48-hour period of just movies, and it was a good time. Here is a highlight reel for you.
You're at the all-nighter with the program director, Casey Holtman. Hey Casey.
Hello.
How's the all-nighter going?
It's great. Everyone's been on time. Everything's going really smooth.
Good.
Great movies. It's going really well.
How did you pick your current movies for the all-nighter?
There are a lot to choose from on Swank, so I picked the best ones that I thought would be good for the all-nighter. So here we are.
Nice. How many movies have you watched so far?
5 probably, 5 or 6.
What's been the best time?
Let me think. What did we watch last night? I can't remember.
Halloween.
Oh, that was terrible. That was the worst movie ever.
Hey Rachel,
Hey.
what time is it?
It's 1 in the afternoon on Saturday.
Cool.
So, yeah. The all-nighter's going pretty great. I've been taking pictures behind the scenes too, so computer's frozen at the moment, but I've been doing that during prior sessions, so yeah, it's a good time.
Groovy.
Yeah.
What's your favorite movie you've seen so far?
So far, probably Into the Spider-Verse, because I'd already seen it, but I really enjoyed it. But I'm actually really excited for Mary Queen of Scots, which is going right now. So, yeah.
Groovy.
Times 5.
I've definitely had at least 10 so far.
Got a lot of iron in today.
I guess so.
Can't get them on the package now. These things.
Status on the snacks. All the healthy alternatives are gone. We got a couple straight chips. We have some Peeps. More chips. None of these bags are sealed and they will all go stale, but that is the TV10 all-nighter life.
Born is next, and I'm beyond
Have you seen it yet?
I can't wait. Oh my gosh.
Star is Born is so good.
Oh my Andy. This is kind of meta, but
wow.
how's it going?
It is going swell.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How long have you been here today?
Forever.
Wow. That's amazing.
God help me.
What's your favorite movie, Ben?
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man?
Yeah, see?
Oh, wow.
And now, on with the show.
And welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that. Next up, we got an on-air review of Shazam. I've got my good friend Charlie here. Charlie, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing just fine. How are you, Andy?
I am doing just fine. I saw Shazam opening weekend. You saw it last night. General overview. What did you think of Shazam?
So Shazam, I walked in with no expectations. Growing up, I haven't had too much attachment to the DC universe. I wasn't sure what exactly I was walking into, and I honestly like walking into movies like that because I feel like
it's the best way to do it.
Establishing that first impression, I feel like it was going to be the most honest to me. And so throughout Shazam, there were so many moments that I liked. I had a lot of genuine moments where I laughed, where I felt like I was at the edge of my seat, where I heard myself gasp even. Overall, I thought Shazam was a little bit of a mess of a movie.
Really?
Yeah. What was your take on it, Andy?
I really enjoyed Shazam. Compared to a lot of the other movies in the DCEU or whatever it is it's called this week.
I couldn't tell you.
It's a lot better. I honestly think it's probably the best one. It's one of the better superhero movies that has come out recently. I personally think it's actually better than the other Captain Marvel. But that's besides the point. Probably the best part of the entire movie is Zachary Levi as Shazam. He really brings the heart and soul of just like a superhero who's actually just this little kid who's trapped in an adult man's body. But even the kid, Billy Batson, he was really, really good. I loved all the kids in this movie. The entire foster family dynamic was just really fun, and I liked every single character in there. What did you think?
So I agree with most of your points there. I thought all the characters were great. You said, was it Zachary whom?
Zachary Levi.
Zachary Levi. I thought he did a great job the moment he appeared on screen because he immediately established his personality.
That absolutely ridiculous red costume.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's just pure comic book fun once you see him.
And I love how self-aware the movie is about it because of how flashy it is in juxtaposition.
It just sort of digs at itself other times, digs at other superhero movies, digs at Superman a lot. I mean, he is in the universe, you can kind of do that.
Right, yeah. And the whole movie tried to take a huge tone of comedy, which I feel like a lot of, not just DC movies, but Marvel movies as well, try to keep somewhat of a lighthearted pace to their movie, which I genuinely think it broadens the scope of what the audience can be for this movie. Plus, it just makes it that much more enjoyable of an experience, especially for its genre.
Exactly. Like, a lot of Marvel movies are, like, nice and bright and pretty funny. Shazam is as well, but it's actually kind of dark in a few areas.
Yeah, and that's what mostly got me,
That's mostly
Andy.
with, like, the villain, Dr. Savannah, I think his name is. What did you think of Dr. Savannah?
I thought he was an awesome villain.
I did too.
From start to finish, I won't spoil the introduction of the movie, but from how he's introduced in the movie, it takes you by complete surprise about 20 minutes in, I want to say. And from there, he is almost nothing but a cold-hearted villain.
He really is. Like, the intro, without, like, giving anything away, it's really, really well played and very interesting. The whole movie is sort of like a big dig at the whole chosen one trope in all of like fiction, and I thought it was really well done. And there are a lot of scenes with Dr. Savannah. One in particular, you know the one.
I know exactly what you're talking about, Andy.
But there's one that's like really intense, and it's just so well done. It reminds me of a lot of like 80s kids movies, like Goonies and Stand By Me, that are like good for like kids to watch, but they're also really, really dark at parts.
Oh, absolutely. I think it definitely, speaking of the Goonies, this movie has a lot of nostalgia factor going for it. I feel like
definitely.
It definitely pulls a lot of tropes and a lot of ideas from other movies. And again, it's very conscious of this. It plays a lot of jokes on a lot of traditional roles. There's a lot of obvious influences on the movie, such as what you said, The Goonies.
Yeah.
I thought Tom Hanks with Big.
Big.
That was a very, very big influence
definitely a big influence with like the kid in a man's body.
Uh-huh.
And there was a pretty good joke involving Big.
Oh, yeah?
Again, not giving it away.
Okay.
But it's a good punchline. Don't yell at me.
I understand,
Anyway,
Riley.
you said it was kind of mixed for you. What's wrong with it for you?
So, like I said earlier, I really liked a lot of the comedic aspects of this film. I thought when it was lighthearted, it did a very good job of leaning into that emotion and to let you just feel it out in the moment. And there was a lot of good drama in the movie as well. They're able to like just take you from a certain moment and then immediately hook you into another tone, another emotion at some point in the movie. My main problem, while this isn't necessarily a bad device in most movies, I think they switched it back and forth way too much.
Really?
Yeah, and I thought at some...
Like the difference between like comedy and drama?
I think it was very intentional in order to subvert your expectations, because I think that's a lot of what the movie is, and that's what's really enticing about the movie, is that it's very deceptive, and it takes you in directions that you don't necessarily expect.
Yeah, there are some like heavy drama moments that feel really adult and mature.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't expect that from the movie at all, and I love a lot of those bits, although I feel like the parts you're probably talking about, I can kind of see where you're coming from, but I enjoyed those moments nonetheless.
That's fair.
And yeah.
I think just because I was super in the throes of some of the dramatic moments where I was like really paying attention, like, oh, something's going on here, and then they cut it off with a joke at some point, and then there's just this tension where it's supposed to be comedy, but you just kind of feel a little bit let down. That's at least how I personally took it.
Right. Yeah, a lot of comic book movies kind of do that, where there's like these really dramatic moments, and then just there's a joke. I mean, Marvel is completely guilty of this. They do this all the time, but
Doctor Strange especially has a lot of things going on.
Doctor Strange is kind of the worst out of, well, not the worst MCU movie, but like in terms of drama and then to joke.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
It's very guilty of
That's
that.
the hardest one. Compared to other DC movies, not just like DCEU movies, like other DC movies, where do you see Shazam like standing?
Oh man. So I think as far as most DC movies, given that we've had a lot of letdowns and a lot of disappointments in the past few years, I would definitely rank it higher amongst the list. So,
I would too. In terms of the DCEU, I would personally rank it, I think it's probably the best out of all of them. I say it's better than Wonder Woman, probably because the third act doesn't like completely fall apart at the end.
Yeah.
Like, we can like talk about the ending of Wonder Woman, right?
I'm pretty sure we can.
Yeah,
it's
been a couple years. Like the ending of Wonder Woman starts out so well with like the war not stopping, and then Ares shows up, and it kind of ruined a really good moment in that movie.
Exactly, because I thought a big core message of the movie, because there's a lot of smaller moments in Wonder Woman that I really like, but overall, the overarching idea that like violence, villainy, and war doesn't stop by like killing a person. It's a manifestation of ideas that spreads across more than just one person.
Yeah.
So you can't characterize things like violence or war. And then
here comes this big CGI horn guy.
Yep, there you
and
go.
then you kill him and the war stops.
Yep, exactly. And so
that's definitely how World War II ended. No, it was World War I. World War II was Captain America. But the third act of Shazam was really fun, in my opinion.
Oh,
They do some really fun stuff.
They really
that
do.
I really hope gets explored in like sequels.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I would personally just absolutely love all of the ending just explored further, especially like without giving away the mid-credit scene. That's weird. That was really weird.
That was really out of left field for me, and I feel like with that scene, there's just a reference I'm not quite getting.
Yeah, now I think about it, it's sort of referenced earlier in the film, but not like too much.
Okay.
And I looked it up. It's like sort of a major thing in DC, but like not too much. But if that's explored, go for it. Please, whatever that was,
I would
please
definitely
continue going with that.
I'd be more than happy to see a second version of this movie, and so if that's what it takes to thread the sequels together, then I'm open to it.
Absolutely.
So yeah, although I have plenty to complain about this movie, there are just a lot of moments that still nonetheless make it feel like it's worth watching.
It really is. I would highly recommend watching Shazam Just don't get too caught up before Endgame comes out in like a few weeks. But yeah, go see Shazam, and it's a wonderful film and a good time. Charlie, I'd like to thank you for coming on. It was a pleasure talking Shazam with you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on, Andy.
And we're going to take another quick break here, but when we come back, I will be showing a wonderful discussion of the ending of Us. Don't go away.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Our mothers. Let the darkness flow through me one last time. That was a mistake. This is getting out of hand. Now there are two of them.
I'm sorry, can I help? Can I help? Do you want an autograph or something?
Give me your power.
Ludicrous speed! Sir, had you better buckle up? Buckle this! Ludicrous speed! Go!
They've gone to plaid.
And now for tonight's editorial. Please enjoy my analysis of the pros and cons of Jordan Peele's Us. So, is it just the new thing now for actors known for comedy to swap over to directing horror? Because Get Out and A Quiet Place both being critical and commercial successes can't be a coincidence. Anyways, the new master of horror, Jordan Peele's new film, Us, was released on March 22nd and was met with several millions of dollars and critical acclaim for being bold and innovative for the horror genre. I saw it opening weekend and I have to say, I'm actually kind of underwhelmed. I'm not saying Us is bad at all, but I think it works better as a think piece rather than a full-fledged film, where you can discuss the themes and ideas present in the film and feel smarter. The only problem is, once you start thinking about the events of the film in context, everything kind of just falls apart. Like, really hard. And before I go any further, I must state that I will be judging Us on its own merits and not compare it to Get Out. Mostly because I saw Us first and had no preconceptions going in. Anyways, I'm going to be talking spoilers from here on out. This is your only warning. 3, 2, 1, let's do this. I feel like I need to reiterate that there is a lot of good stuff in this film. Lupita Nyong'o, in particular, is the best actor in the entire movie. She does a really good job with what she is given, and I honestly think she could probably get nominated for an Oscar next year. The rest of the cast is really good too, all of them doing really well playing themselves and their doppelgangers, except for these two teenagers who feel distractingly like they were written by a 40-year-old man who doesn't understand what teenagers are. It's also really well shot and the score is incredible, particularly the song Anthem, which is an instant horror classic in my mind. And the story is really well written too. At least until the last 20-ish minutes, but we'll get there near the end. For now, let's just start getting into my problems. Jordan Peele has done really good comedy in the past and managed to sprinkle some of that flavor into his other film. Here that applies well in a few places, mostly with Winston Duke's character, who gives out the best laughs. There's other occasional one-liners that work, like when the boy doppelganger is crying out for help, the real Adelaide says to her doppelganger, "That's yours." Now, that's pretty darn clever. Other times, though, it feels like comedy is conflicting with how some scenes are supposed to make the audience feel. There is this one scene where an entire family is slaughtered, and yet it left almost no impact on me. It's shot from the outside of the house it's in, and in an almost uncaring way, NWA is playing in the background. A fair comparison to this would be if you were in a church for a funeral for a loved one, and the organ was playing Boney M's Rah Rah Rasputin. Also, Tommy Wiseau is the minister. Do you see what I'm getting at yet?
I think I'm a clone now. There's always two of me just hanging around.
The clones in us are known as the tethered, and they honestly don't make a whole lot of sense. It's explained later on that they were supposedly created by the US government to try and control people like puppets, but they abandoned the project because they could recreate the body but not the mind. So they all wander underground like zombies, mimicking the actions of the real people above ground. And when you start thinking about everything that happens, the film's logic starts to thrust itself into a corner. Violently. With scissors. If the tethered can only mimic what the people are doing above, how are they acting independently? Heck, there's even moments when the tethered are above ground and they're mimicking the movements of the real people for almost no reason. It even gets one of them killed later on. It's also implied that the tethered eat raw rabbits for all of their meals, but out of sheer common sense, I feel like that's probably impossible. First of all, not only would no one have the proper nutrients to survive, but also the fact that all the rabbits were shown in cages. Who is breeding enough rabbits to keep the tethered alive?
What market are you shopping at?
And just one tethered, is the biggest problem in the entire movie. In a story about duplicates, one would figure that the one element that would be present here is when the doppelganger would pretend to be the real version to trick the other characters. For a while, it doesn't try to make you think this will happen, but guess who figured it out before the end of the first scene? After Adelaide saw her tethered in the Hall of Mirrors, the clone swapped places and left her down in the tunnels, and I called it. At first, I thought it was kind of clever. But then I remembered I'm a negative Nancy, so it's actually stupid. First of all, why is Red the only member of the tethered to have attempted to go up the escalator? If the tethered can occasionally have their own thoughts, why can't they all just leave? I mean, it's right there out in the open. No one is stopping them. There's not guards or anything. Second of all, Adelaide should be able to escape the underground. Yes, she's handcuffed to the bed, but it's clearly established that she does get out at some point in time. She can easily find the escalator and just leave. Again, no one is blocking it. Third, now the tethered copying movement makes even less sense. They're both shown dancing at relatively the same time when they were children, so which one of them is in control right now? Is the mental link between them dependent on which one is underground, or is this screenplay completely rushed by someone who wanted to capitalize on their last film after it was nominated for 4 Academy Awards? I'm starting to believe the latter. I just want to reiterate that I don't hate Us. It's not the worst film I've ever seen. It's got interesting ideas and memorable characters, but the screenplay is just incredibly weak and outright confusing at times. Hopefully with Get Us Out 3, Jordan Peele can figure out the right balance that made Get Out work so well. Otherwise, he might just have to end up in the punk pile. And that's going to do it for the show tonight. I hope you enjoyed. Please follow us on Twitter. Please like TV10 on Facebook. Watch more episodes on my TV10. And I'll see you real soon. Have a good night.